I'm back, Biff. Let me know if Howard's on the line. I say if.
News Network. Calls and conversations continue in less than 3 minutes as the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues after this.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the Watchdog trusts.
Does your dog need groomed or walked? Are you looking for a pet sitter or dog boarding options? If so, call Dirty Paws, Wheeling's newest pet care service, providing the Ohio Valley with everyone's pet care needs. Check us out on Facebook at Dirty Paws WHG or call 304-639-7754.
Over the years, you've brought opioids into your home. They helped when you were in pain, and you held on to them just in case. But holding on to opioids puts your family at risk. Learn more at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Quaker Steak and Lube at the Highlands is the perfect place to relax after a long day. Happy hour from 3 to 6 Monday through Friday. Get $2 off appetizers, $3 off domestic drafts, and house wine specials. Quaker Steak and Lube, voted Best Wings USA. Quaker Steak and Lube at the Highlands with another steal of a deal. Get a steak burger and fries all day Monday for only $8.99. It's also Military Mondays. The Lube will take 25% off for all veterans, active duty military, and first responders. Quaker Steak and Lube, voted Best Wings USA.
Oh, there's something so real about living local, and I know without a doubt I'm not alone. And I'm living local. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. Said I'm living local. WTRF is working for me. The Ohio Valley is where I love to be.
Welcome to the 54th National Tractor Pulling Championships Reloaded, the largest truck and tractor pull in the world with 11,000 reserved seats and 2,100 campsites. Watch pullers from across the world compete for the coveted NTPC Championship ring. Rich in history, home to hospitality. Experience the power of the pulls. August 19th, 20th, and 21st in Bowling Green, Ohio. Purchase your tickets today.
As the world gets back on track, now's the time to look forward and make bold, life-changing decisions. If you're ready to complete your college degree or pursue your master's like an MBA, Ohio Dominican University offers a range of innovative programs that match your goals. And with both fully online and on-campus evening formats available, pursuing your degree at ODU also fits your life. Classes are forming now. Get started at ohiodominican.edu. That's ohiodominican.edu.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker, Darnell Foster. With a look at your local weather forecast for your start to the work week. Mix of sun and clouds with scattered showers and storms possibly.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Showers and storms for your Tuesday. Otherwise, times of clouds and sunshine with temperatures in the mid to upper 70s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
Opinions, rants, commentary, and interviews. Plus, your complete morning news, weather, and sports. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe in the 100 Days of Summer.
67 degrees and raining at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. 68 degrees and raining here at the home studios in the Elm Grove section of Wheeling. And 68 at the Robinson Auto Group Studios downtown Wheeling. in the heart of the Ohio Valley, 8:10 on a Monday morning. Going to rain all day long. In fact, going to rain all week long. Might see some breaks in the action every once in a while, but basically it's going to be just a pure rain week. Learn to live with it. Good news is it won't be as warm, as hot as it was last week. Looking for a 76 for the high today, maybe low 80s later in the week. But it will also be muggy again today. So just be prepared. That beautiful, hot, summery weather we had last week fading away this week. Coming up in this hour, the Afghan president has fled the country. The Taliban seems to be in control as the U.S. scrambles to evacuate Americans from the country. Former Congressman Bob Ney was one of the founders of the Afghanistan caucus. He visited Afghanistan on several occasions, and he'll be with us to offer his thoughts and analysis and assessment of the current situation. Also coming up next hour, we're talking about redistricting in West Virginia. Forums continue across the state in preparation for what would likely be some major shifts in the drawing of districts, not just congressional districts that we've talked about, but state senate and, more importantly, probably the delegate districts in West Virginia. Ohio County Delegate Sean Fluharty may well be impacted by the redistricting, and he serves on the redistricting commission. He will join us to discuss that coming up in the next hour of the show. But COVID has been top of mind for me and for an awful lot of people once again. We thought it was all over and done with. We thought we were on the glide path out, and now things are rising again. Numbers aren't looking as good, or even around the state, certainly in other parts of the country. So I asked Howard Gamble from the Ohio County Health Department to come and join us once again and chat about some of the numbers and some of the things that are happening out there. Howard, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Morning.
You and I talked, I think, 2 weeks ago, and the numbers were starting to rise already. I think it was 30-some the week that we talked. The most recent report you issued, pushing close to 196 new COVID cases in this past week. So the numbers are definitely continuing to rise.
Oh, by the time we issued the report on Sunday, we trying to go to a weekly status. By the time we went to Sundays and released the numbers, we had already gained upwards of 15 cases.
Oh, wow. So it's over 100, really.
Oh, yeah. We have to cut it off at some point where I come in on Sunday, do the cases, try to do some follow-up, make the announcement of, really the announcement is not so much here's the number of cases, it's what do we have planned. We have testing going on, we have vaccinations going on, and the rest, the number of cases and the variants that have been detected is just an alert, because a lot of that can be found on the state's COVID dashboard. But it's really to notify the general public. We have testing, we have vaccinations, we have special vaccination clinics. And what's new for this week is not only a special vaccination clinics such as back to school shots, back to school clinics, which are COVID clinics here in Ohio County, but the homebound vaccination program, as well as the announcement and statewide of the individuals who are seeking booster vaccines is now in play.
I definitely want to get to both of those, the boosters and the home visits, but let me stick with numbers just for a second. Of the cases you at least reported on Sunday night, the numbers are higher now. We had Alpha variant, Delta, only a couple of Delta, I think, and also Gamma. I mean, what does that mean that we're seeing the different variants in Ohio County, or does it really mean anything?
It doesn't have a lot of impact on overall either individuals' care, their quarantine for contacts, isolation for the individual. It doesn't have a lot of impact other than this is what we're seeing in the community. For a long time, the most predominant was UK, the Alpha variant. That was what was going around. However, as we progressed in the month of August, it was kind of announced on our statewide calls with state health department officials that pretty much most of the cases that we were seeing across West Virginia or locally would have been a Delta variant. And that's just an awareness to look into, yes, this can be more severe. Yes, it's going to have an impact upon individuals who are already vaccinated. because everybody can, even vaccinated or unvaccinated, you can still pick up the virus. But how our body responds to that and puts up an immune defense, with a Delta variant, we could see more individuals that were vaccinated becoming positive. And that's kind of what's happened. Throughout the 7-day period, we saw a number of individuals who were vaccinated become positive.
Those numbers are percentage-wise fairly small, these so-called breakthrough cases, though, aren't they?
Extremely small. For example, in a day you may have one or two. Extremely small. The individuals may be in close proximity, such as a household contact. They're caring for other individuals in the house that are not vaccinated, and so they have constant contact, or they've made trips and they've come back, so they were in an area with a lot of disease, such as out in the Midwest or down in the South, come back and they're positive. It's very small numbers as far as vaccinated individuals becoming positive. In addition to that, vaccinated individuals are not the ones that we traditionally are seeing either needing advanced care or hospitalization.
I have not looked at numbers in West Virginia per se, but across the country, hospitalizations are on the rise. They tend to be focused in certain areas, and again, I have not looked at the mountain states, but we're getting back into the COVID cases are going up, hospitalizations are going up, and deaths are going up too. Again, I don't know about West Virginia specifically, but across the country, we're back in that. We're going back to where we were once before, are we not?
Going back very quickly, when we introduced the vaccine in the December month, and then started rolling out the vaccine slowly, and until we got out a lot of vaccine, we didn't see a decrease in disease and numbers. Now, once we began to roll out a lot of vaccine, you saw a very steep decline in the virus being detected. So there's a good correlation. When you roll out the vaccine, you will see a decrease in disease. We see that with anything from polio to measles to whatever, hepatitis A. You will see a decrease when you roll out a vaccine. But what we see with any vaccine and any vaccine preventable disease is you will see small blips or increases. And that could be everything from hesitant to other variants being introduced. People aren't getting vaccinated, so that the virus is making its way around a community. If you have a lot of people unvaccinated in a population, it's very easy for the virus to find the next host. And if it's finding the next host, it's growing. It's very prevalent in the community. So if you don't have a lot of people vaccinated, you're just going to go from host to host to host to host. And even when you have a vaccinated individual in there, it's not enough to slow it down. It's not to drop a curve, it's to slow the cases down so they're manageable. You're always going to see, for a while now, we're going to see COVID in the community. But if we can decrease the number of cases, we can make it manageable. And the only way to decrease it is through vaccination.
Ohio County's vaccination rate is where now?
I think we're about 63, 64% for those that are eligible. That's 12 and over. So if you take the whole population, I don't know, the state does this sometimes. If you try to figure in the entire population of about 42,000 people, you're about 55%. But if you just take out the individuals who are eligible, 12 and over, we're about 64%.
Now let's talk about booster vaccines. They apparently are now going to be available, but I've read a lot about them, and frankly, I'm confused. Who should get them? Who can get them? Who decides who gets them? These new boosters, not new, but these booster shots.
So the booster shots, when they announced it, CDC kind of put it out that we're going to be doing booster shots, and we need to make sure that they're given to individuals that really need them. In other words, from their data that was being produced. In short, there's some specific criteria for individuals who are going to be getting booster vaccines, and that could be individuals that are going through cancer. They've received a transplant. They're already immune. They already are defined as immune deficient. It could be individuals who have advanced or untreated HIV infection. There's actually specific bullets that we should be asking an individual, are you one of these? Now, the key is the individual needs also to make sure they should be getting this. And that's when we turn back and say, listen, contact your PCP, your immunologist, or your specialist, and make sure you should be getting a booster. Now, we're not requiring anywhere a physician's script or a prescription that Mrs. Smith needs to get a booster. We just want you to check. You can come in and get a booster. Some of the criteria, there is a time frame criteria. You need to be at least 4 weeks post your second vaccine. We will try to get the same vaccine that you got the other 2 doses for. So there's some specific criteria that we're trying to meet, but it's really targeted to certain individuals. And that could be for a number of reasons. One, it's to get people slowly boosted as we progress through the late summer and early fall. And then as we see more data coming out from the CDC, you could then expand the boosters to other individuals, such as younger or individuals that were vaccinated at a certain time period or a certain age. But for right now, it's very specific to individuals with certain conditions.
You have the booster shots available now. You do. I mean, the health department does.
Matter of fact, in West Virginia, because there was clinics set up on Saturday, already previously set up, some counties even began vaccinating with boosters Saturday afternoon when the state released their notification. So today, Monday, here in Ohio County, we have a walk-in clinic. It's a standard. You can get boosted. And be advised.
So let me stop you there for a second, Howard. So I walk in today. I walk in this afternoon and say, booster me up. What are you going to do? You're going to ask me some questions, and then you're going to, okay, just take me through it. I walk in, I go, I'm ready for a booster. What are you going to do?
So as long as you meet the criteria, it's not a yes and no. In other words, you're not told, I'm sorry, you can't. The only criteria that we can say, I'm sorry, you can't, is if you're not 4 weeks post your second dose.
Right.
That's obvious. There's no age qualification. It's really, you've gone through the criteria, whether it's an individual going through cancer, you've had a transplant. We're not verifying that. And no venue across the country is verifying that. You have to take citizens' word as the truth, and yes, we can get you the booster. We only have so many vaccines in the county, and so if you have a rush of individuals coming in and they're not telling you completely everything, we will be, just as we were in the beginning of the pandemic, out of vaccines very quickly. We've ordered more in, anticipating this. All counties had to respond very quickly over the weekend to order more vaccines in, so we can meet not only the individuals who are coming in for their first dose, but those who are now wanting a second. But the one thing I want to make sure individuals are doing, make sure you've talked to your primary care, your rheumatologist, your immunologist, or your specialist to say, yes, you should be getting a second or third dose of vaccine before you come.
Is there harm from a third dose of vaccine if you're not supposed to get one?
There's no harm.
Okay.
Really, what you're doing is if you're just running in to get it, keep in mind there's only so much vaccine in the county. And if we're doing regular individuals, as we have been since the beginning of the late spring, just offering it on a rolling basis, those individuals that were just coming in for their first dose are going to be out because we only have so much vaccine, whether it's here in the county health department. The other major vaccinator is Wheeling Health Right, and our smaller vaccinators, which is the primary or the local pharmacies.
So the idea behind the booster essentially is for people who, because of their compromised system, maybe haven't produced enough antibodies from the first vaccines, and this will give it boost it up to try and produce more. Is that right?
Right. So you're providing that booster as they looked at the data and said these individuals really should get one because they're really the key word, you're more at risk. Whether they're looking at antibodies or titers that were done at some point on individuals, it's just not from December of 2020. It's a little prior to that because we were doing a lot of studies and making sure the vaccine was safe before it rolled out to the general public. And they look at those individuals and said, we're following you long term. We need to do either titer tests to see where you are, what is your condition. So when CDC announced this, it was really for specific individuals that they thought were more at risk that should get a booster vaccine.
Is there a way I can check whether I have adequate antibodies?
So there's a couple things people can do, the general public. If individuals want to say, do I have antibodies for COVID or not, yes and no, you can get a simple test at a local pharmacy. And it's going to tell you yes and no. You can also go to your physician and say, I want to order a blood test, and you can get a range, a reference range. However, the reference range that you get, I'm not sure at this point is enough detail that says you should or you shouldn't. That's where you really need to make sure you're talking to your physician that says, yes, you need a booster, or no, you're okay for right now. However, if you're one of the criteria, you're being treated for cancer, your organ transplant, stem cell transplant, untreated or advanced HIV, or one of the other criteria, you should make sure it's okay with your primary care or your specialist. Come in and get it regardless of getting a test to say where your boosters are. Just get the vaccine.
All right, you are doing vaccination clinics. Also, are you still doing testing at the health department?
So testing is done. We took over the testing location where Wheeling Hospital was on the old OVMC campus. Mm-hmm. So we're testing there daily, and then vaccinating at the county, as well as a number of off-site vaccine locations. At some point, if the booster program expands or we see a volume change, we'll have to work with our partners, Wheeling Hospital, Wheeling Health Right, the city and the county, and more than likely go back to the mass vaccination location up at the Highlands. But right now we're going to, this week, because it rolled out very quickly, we'll be here in the office.
Now, you mentioned you're going to be doing, you have the ability to do home visits for vaccinations, I guess, now?
So for some time now, we've done homebound vaccinations. Individuals who are homebound, they're not in a nursing facility, but they're maybe someone's providing care at the home. We'll come over and do vaccines. We usually line them up. So many visits a day, we schedule it, and then one of our vaccinator goes out and either does first dose or second dose. The idea is that, although they're in their home, now's a good time because we vaccinate a lot in the community. We can hit those individuals in their home rather than trying to put them in a car, drive them here to the county or up to the vaccine center.
How concerned are you about where we're headed, Howard?
For right now, I think we're very concerned. We should have more people vaccinated by now. We have a huge contingency of unvaccinated, hesitant individuals. And as we go into the end goal for the summer was school. We knew that at the beginning, late in spring. The end goal for summer was a successful school launch. We're going to be more active, going around venues. Our kids are going to be closer together. We're going to have a large group of adults working with children, whether it's in school or out of school activities. And as you see an increase in disease across the country, it's just going to continue. The only thing to bring down the disease rate is through vaccination, nothing else. Masks are a good barrier. So is plexiglass, so is social distancing, so is staying home if you're sick. They're all good barriers, but they do not decrease the disease. The only thing that we've seen by way of looking at past data is a vaccination is introduced, it decreases disease. I'm concerned that if we do not continue to increase our vaccination rates, we're going to be dealing with this for another fall and winter. And it's a strain on our public health system and a bigger strain on our healthcare system. And that's the hospitals and clinics and doctors' offices, to the point where we're expecting routine or other services, and they're going to be taken over by caring for COVID again. And that is a big problem. And I don't want to get to that stage again where the hospitals are just loaded with COVID patients and we can't hold or see other individuals, as they are in other parts of the country, whether that is in the South, where they only have so many ICU beds for a multi-county district. It is very concerning for the overall health care of a community. So if we don't get more people vaccinated, decrease our disease rate so it's manageable, we're going to be at the same level we were when we saw other spikes.
The governor has said he is not ready to do mask mandates at all, but that it is something that he keeps on the table if necessary. Do you think we should, or are we heading towards the need for mask mandates, if not for everything, maybe for schools or maybe for other certain places?
So if we're going to roll out a mandatory vaccine, we need to do it for the entire state or entire area, whatever that may be, not just for a specific venue or location. Masks are a good barrier and they're a good tool in this overall effort to control disease, but they're not the magic. They're not the magic bullet. They're not the magic mask. Vaccination is. And really, that should be the focus. My concern is that if we go back to, yes, we're going to require masks again, that we lose focus on what we really should be doing, and that is getting people vaccinated and increasing vaccination rates to decrease the disease. If we just fall back to masks, are we going to wear them for X amount of months? Or are we going to, fall back to masks and roll out a larger vaccination, more robust vaccination program? I think masks are a good tool, and they work especially when we didn't have the vaccine. In the summer of last year,
all of the things we did, the shutting down of businesses, the mask mandates, and all of those just social distancing requirements, et cetera, they all really were done with get us to the vaccine. That was kind of the whole point of much of last year. Just get us to the vaccine. Now we've got to the vaccine and we still are having problems because people aren't getting it.
Yeah, and that is concern. The cases that roll in, even this morning, a number of cases came in, only one individual vaccinated. The individuals may start out very mild, but at some point they're visiting the hospital and they're making a more load upon the healthcare system to treat an individual that could be easily had been vaccinated and ride out, if they did get it, ride out everything at home. It is, vaccine is the key, not masks, but if we have to, it needs to be for a large geographic area. The northern panhandle, the eastern panhandle, our border cities of Bluefield and Huntington all have the same problem. If you announce a mask mandate in one state and it's not in the other state, we're a porous community. Yeah. And it really won't really make a big impact on disease rate. The only thing that really does is introduce a vaccine, get individuals vaccinated, and then do the other barriers. And some of the simplistic ones, wash your hands, social distance. If you're going to have a large event, spread out. Just do simple things, whether it's the flu season or COVID. We just have to practice a little bit of common sense with this.
It's anecdotal, but it seems that an awful lot of folks who have now found themselves in the hospital suffering from COVID who were not vaccinated are now having regrets about not having been vaccinated. We're hearing an awful lot of these reports. I note it's not statistical, it's anecdotal, but it does seem like a lot of folks are realizing that they made a big oopsie when they chose not to get vaccinated.
When we call a positive, we go through we try to alert them real quick, especially on a weekend because our tracers won't call them until the next week. We ask the question, are you vaccinated? And it's not to poke fun, it's just to make sure, are you vaccinated, to see what's going to happen. We do tell them after your quarantine, your isolation period, you're eligible to get vaccinated, unless you're in the hospital and had specific treatments, of which you'll be told in advance. But you're eligible to get vaccinated, and we encourage that. And the reason why is we are seeing individuals all across the country that have been previous positives becoming positive again. So natural immunity or immunity by the vaccine, it provides a level of immunity both ways, but it's not 100%. And yes, you can get reinfected. What we don't want to see is that we can't get a hold of the individual after they become positive, and it's because they're in the hospital.
Yeah. All right, Howard, I have to move on. I suspect, as I think I said last time, we'll probably be talking more frequently again until this thing settles down one way or another. But I really appreciate the effort you put into it, and I also appreciate your sharing all that with us, because I think we've all learned a little bit today, and I thank you for that.
All right, we'll see you.
All right, bye. Howard Gamble, the health administrator, director of the Ohio County Health Department. So booster shots are available. You need to make sure that you're in one of the categories that needs booster shots. But I guess they don't really check that. So I leave that for you to figure out how you want to do that. They will do home vaccinations. I didn't realize they were doing that. And the numbers are rising. It was almost 100 when Howard issued his report last night, and it's now about 115 just since then. So the numbers, Biffy, are not good. 8:37, 23 till the hour. The numbers are not good in Afghanistan, a totally different kind of disaster occurring in Afghanistan, where the Taliban seems to have overrun the country, taken control. The Afghan government is out of the country. Efforts are being made to evacuate Americans and other key people. We're going to talk about all of this with former Congressman Bob Ney. That's coming up next on the Watchdog Morning Show.
The WTRF Channel 7 News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Now it's time.
Bob Ney next, hopefully.
Listen to Petrocelli tonight at 6. Students that are interested.
Metro News Sports. Good afternoon. I'm Joe Mercado. High school football teams across the state competed in their first scrimmages this
Conservation Service. Family Farm, Hazel Dell, raising commercial beef. That was a look at your headlines. Have a great day and have an even better week, everyone.
The Variety Show with Bill DeFabio is live on the Watchdog Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. We talk to some of the region's best business owners while keeping you informed about area events and happenings. You won't believe who I have on next. Tune in and get with the program. Guests from preachers to pros and even some Super Bowl champions. Join me, Bill DeFabio, from noon to 2 for The Variety Show on the Watchdog.
Hey man, what can I get you?
Yeah, can I have 2 Coors Lights?
You got it. Hey Mike! I need 2 Coors Lights!
Sure thing.
With a taste as cold as the Rockies, only Coors Light gives you refreshment every time.
Here you go.
Thanks, Mike. Doing a great job. All right, 2 ice-cold Coors Lights.
That's the coldest beer I've ever had.
Hey, they don't call it the world's most refreshing beer for nothing.
Okay, be honest with me. Do you really have the Rocky Mountains in your beer cooler?
You don't believe it? Check it out.
Man, that's pretty amazing.
I know, right? I can't believe it myself sometimes. I mean, this cooler is only 3 feet wide.
Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. With great beer comes great responsibility.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Attorney Tom McIntyre.
Life. It may knock you down, but you don't have to say that way. I'm Tom McIntyre. I'm a bankruptcy attorney, and I'm here to help you.
Okie dokie, thank you.
To you like no other book does. Give us a call. We're here to help.
Call Thomas E. McIntyre and Associates at 304-232-8600. Allow us to help put you back on the road to financial success.
Toyota's national sales event is happening now with savings and reliability you can count on. So check out an adventure-ready gas model RAV4 or a spacious Highlander that seats up to 8, both with up to $750 cash back. Or an all-wheel drive Venza hybrid, now with $1,000 cash back. Visit buyatoyota.com for more great deals. You can take cash back or apply toward down payment. Offers may vary for hybrid models. See your dealer for details. Offers end September 7th. Toyota, let's go places.
Dominating both AM and FM, the Watchdog is AM 1600 and 1370, FM 98.1 and 97.7. We are the Watchdog.
Every morning on Facebook Live or on our website. Plus, check archives of all of our videos on the Watchdog YouTube channel. The Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues.
Temperature continues to slowly rise here in the Ohio Valley, 69 degrees here at my home studios, with light rain at the Elm Grove section of Wheeling, 67 degrees and rain at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport, and 68 at the Robinson Auto Group Studios downtown Wheeling in the heart of the Ohio Valley. Well, big story of the day, I think, probably the big story of a period of time is going to be the collapse of Afghan capital. The government has collapsed. The president has fled the country. Efforts are being made to get people, Americans and those associated with us, out of the country safely if possible. Seems to be pretty much a mess. I want to talk about this with former Congressman Bob Ney, who is with us here this morning. Bob, you were on Capitol Hill when the decision to go into Afghanistan was made. Did you support that at the time?
Oh, yes, and would still have supported going in again if it had to be under obviously different circumstances, not remaining 20 years. But yes, I supported that, and then Sheila Jackson-Lee and I and 2 others were the first members to go into Afghanistan 4 months after we invaded. There were only 4 of us that went, and then we met with Karzai outside the country. He was the chairman at the time. Then he became president. We formed the Afghan caucus, Sheila and I did. I just want to give you background. You know, I've had a pretty extensive background in Afghanistan. We went back again, hosted Karzai in the hearing room where I chaired House Administration when he came to the Capitol, and had constant interactions with Afghanistan early on, trying to see what we could do to help them.
When you agreed with the decision to go into Afghanistan militarily, what did you expect was going to happen? What did you think was the end game?
Well, I thought, and that's a great question, because I thought that the end game would be we would go in, we would establish a government, a democratically, formed government, which we did with Karzai, do some training, have some advisors, and leave. That's what I thought basically would happen. When I went to Afghanistan, we met with Zalmay Khalilzad, whose name's been in the news recently because that was the second trip, because he's been negotiating with the Taliban in Doha, Qatar. And at that time, we had the general there who was in charge of the forces, and they sat down and explained to us this is where it started to go haywire, I think. They explained to us there were two paths, one military, the other civil, that we were going to rebuild Afghanistan, we were going to, take in computers, we were going to educate it, we were going to on and on and on. He said, so that's kind of, he said, a unique military mission. So they explained that to us. At that time, Congressman Hobson from Springfield asked the question about burning the opium fields, which I answered before Khalilzad did, that they're not going to burn the opium fields, which made Hobson look surprised. And I said, they're not going to burn them because the warlords control that, and they'll kill Karzai within about a day. So, there's all these things in Afghanistan and corruption, et cetera. But that's, where we stood with,
Bob, but there always has been. The Russians tried to get in there and they failed. It's historically, Afghanistan has eaten up any external forces come in and tried to help them, if you want to put it that way, or control them, or whatever word you want to use. Why did we think in the beginning that we could do any different or any better than what has happened in the past?
Well, because I think, first of all, bad intel, awfully bad intel. That goes back to when I lived in Iran. I was calling home, and my family was saying, oh, looks like everything's okay. Meanwhile, they were shooting people down in the streets in Iran. And I thought, maybe I should call the White House and give them intel. We have failed miserably, and even on Afghanistan here. The President Biden was given intel, I'm sure. He would never have made this statement that, the Taliban's not going to take over. He made that statement, 30 or 40 days ago. They're not going to take over. Our intel is so horrible. Plus, we also don't face reality. When we were there, some of the corruption stopped, but there were phantom payrolls. When they quote there's 400,000 people in the military and the Army, that's not true. But to answer your question, look what we did in Iraq. We thought we could build a government there. They want us to leave. We haven't left, but they completely want us out.
I never did think we should have gone into Iraq, personally.
Well, I agree with that now, knowing what I now know.
And I always thought that Afghanistan was a fair target because it was in Afghanistan that the plot for 9/11 was basically, hatched, and that's where bin Laden was and so on. I don't know what I thought the end game was. I remember asking you about that and others about it at the time. But I certainly thought that once bin Laden himself was removed, that would have been the end of it. I never expected us to be, I don't know what word I want to use, just sort of tinkering around for 20 years trying to make things better.
War. It should
just
have
hasn't
ended
happened.
10 years ago, Howard. It should have just ended 10 years ago. And we should have taken our shot then and take a look at what happens.
Was pulling out the right decision? It was not Biden's decision, by the way. I want to point that out. Trump himself had said he wanted to pull out. In fact, he recently encouraged Biden to pull out even sooner than he is doing. So this is from Trump, Biden, the decision to pull out. The American people, I think, are tired of it. Was it the right decision to pull American forces out of Afghanistan in your mind?
Let me answer about Trump and Biden and then make a statement about Biden. President Trump made the right decision, by the way, I feel, in negotiating something that wasn't contingent upon conditions on the ground, because that's what he did. If Trump had negotiated based on the Taliban and the Afghan government would do the following 5 things, we would still be there. We would never get out of there. So Trump was right to make the decision to get out based on not contingencies on the ground. I think President Biden made the right decision to get out. So I think those both were the right decisions. Now, The fact remains, though, that no matter who did what, when, and how, President Biden's going to own this. And you can see that happening. The media itself, the quote friendly media to Biden is turning. You can see that in a dime. Of course, the media likes us to go all over the world and save everybody on the planet, and then they go nuts about it later, the national media. But when President Biden said, well, we can, Trump started this, he's got a problem. If he didn't like what President Trump did, he could have, at some point in time in February, said, nope, we're not going to get out, we're going to stay in. He didn't do that.
I don't disagree with that. I mean,
right. That's what I mean. He owns it,
Well, and look, regardless of who the president is, you get the credit and the blame when it happens on your watch. Period. It doesn't make any difference whether you deserve the credit or blame. You get the credit or blame when it happens on your watch.
That's right.
That's just the way it is. But I don't think. The American people, I think, are just sick and tired of the war. And,
correct.
I don't know that the American public, maybe myself included, have really looked at what the military leadership is saying about pulling out and what kind of problems it could cause. I think we're just going, look, we've been there for 20 years. If we can't get it done in 20 years, let's just get out. Which leads me to this question, Bob. What's next? All right, the Afghan president is out of the country. The capital has essentially fallen. The Taliban are in control. For a moment, let's assume that we're able to evacuate necessary personnel, get American citizens and those supporting us out. We might want to come back and talk about that in a second. But let's assume that's done. What's next? What happens to Afghanistan now?
Well, Afghanistan is doomed because the Taliban, they're going to let us get out. The last thing they want is 6,000 American troops turning on them right now. That's the last thing they want. So we get out, and then the Taliban, by the way, President Hamid Karzai, the first president, he stayed there. He's in the capital negotiating with the Taliban for a peaceful takeover,
I did not know that.
which is interesting. Very brave guy, I would say. He's got his kids there with him, as I understand it. So they're going to negotiate with the Taliban, but here's the bottom line. The Taliban are the Taliban. Girls are not going to be able to read anymore. If you commit a crime, you're going to get stoned. They're going to, rob people. They're going to have marriages with 9 and 10-year-old girls, quote marriages, the old warlords. I mean, this all is going to happen again. And so, prayers for the people of Afghanistan, because they are just going to go through Hades, no question about it. Nothing we can do about that unless we are attacked again out of there, and then we would, I think, probably have missiles flying and no troops on the ground. Probably.
Bob, what would you have recommended we do differently? What should we have done differently over these 20 years to not lead? Is there anything that could have prevented us from ending up where we are right now?
I don't believe so. We couldn't change the corruption, the structure. We did the best we could do. I think our only sin is, two of them. One, our intel on the ground didn't tell us that if we leave, it collapses. I mean, they ignored things. They lived in some unreal world. I think the only other thing we could have done, frankly, is to have gotten out earlier. Just gotten out. I'm not saying go in, 3 months later get out. We tried to establish a government, but maybe within 10 years to have gotten out. I mean, the people were all for this, and as time went on, $1 trillion later and thousands of American deaths, people wanted it done. And Trump began to get out. He left as president, and Biden continued it. So that's why I say your first question, yes, both presidents, I think, were correct.
Well, it's going to be a bad time to be in Afghanistan. There's no question about that.
Horrible.
But, I truly don't know that. I think I know the answer to this. Do you think we should stay longer?
No. We're done. We were done a while back. Maybe if we had left earlier, it would have forced the government to do something that's a theory, but they aren't prepared now. I mean, 20 years, $1 trillion, thousands of lives, and they took it in 9 days. 9.
Yeah.
So it was just doomed. Now, you're going to have a Trump versus Biden, who did what and when, how, et cetera. You're going to have that. I think the worst thing that happened this year was the fact that people went to the embassy, said, hey, I helped you, here's my letters from the generals and the sergeants, and the embassy said, oh, well, not enough proof, go home. I think the embassy sat on its rear end. Finally, the White House said, let these people go, and that should have happened way back in March.
We have an ambassador there.
Getting out was ugly.
We have an ambassador there, do we not?
Yes. He's at the airport now, or he's gone, but yes, we had an ambassador.
Will we make an effort to continue? If the Taliban claims they're now the official government of Afghanistan, do we continue to try to negotiate with them, to deal with them?
That's a very interesting question. I mean, I would hate to be that ambassador, stationed over there. Maybe you want to do it by teleconference, But I think we at least probably offer it upon the condition that our ambassador is, protected. That, if the Taliban wants to keep open communications, I guess you probably have to make that offer out there. I don't know how far that would go, It's hard to say.
Well, it's going to be a rough few days getting people out, and then it's going to be a rough few years figuring out what happens next. And
then the question, are they going to attack us? I would think they're not going to directly support any attack upon us, the Taliban. They're living in the 12th century, but they're not completely ignorant of how the world works.
Yeah, I would tend to think you're right that they probably. We didn't quote win this war, but we did wage a war.
Correct.
They don't want to resurrect that again. Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly.
All right, Bob, I appreciate your input. Thank you very much. I knew you brought some expertise to the matter, and I'm glad we had a chance to talk about it. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you, Howard. Have a great day.
All right, talk to you soon. Former Congressman Bob Ney, who was in Congress when we made the decision to go into Afghanistan, he supported the use of military force there. He was in Afghanistan on a couple of occasions, met with the one-time President Karzai, and had a sense of what was going on there. So I wanted to get his perspective on this. I thought that was pretty good stuff. Another perspective, by the way, from Bob Ney, I'm going to bring to you in a couple of weeks, Biffy. It's hard to believe, Biff, but we're coming up on the 20th anniversary of, 9/11.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to believe, but we're coming up on that date. And I have a series of shows prepared for you. Among them, Bob Ney. Bob Ney was in the Capitol on 9/11, was supposed to have been in the World Trade Center. Our old friend Ellen Ratner, her birthday party is the only thing that kept Bob Ney from being in the World Trade Center on 9/11. But Bob was in the Capitol. He supervised a lot of the response afterwards. So we're going to talk about 9/11 with Bob Ney closer to the anniversary date. And also, we're going to be talking with Dean Rothbard, who is a Wall Street Journal reporter who has just written a book called September 12th. It's about how the Wall Street Journal gathered enough information right after 9/11 in the midst of all that chaos to keep on putting out a newspaper. I'm looking forward to reading that. I am looking forward to reading it, but talking to him about that as well. And other 9/11 anniversary shows will be here on the Watchdog Morning Show. Let's get more in Afghanistan right now from ABC.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Thousands of people desperate.